Imagine giving 10 years of your life to a company, only to be told you're worth half overnight. That's what happened to me. I sat across from them in that stale little conference room, already knowing deep down that something ugly was about to happen. You could smell it in the air. That weird corporate scent, a mix of overused carpet cleaner and recycled fear. The fluorescent lights hummed above, and the old Keurig machine in the corner clicked like it was on its last leg. A dying ficus leaned toward the window like it wanted to quit, too. Denise Calder from HR sat across from me with her oversized glasses and a file folder balanced on her lap, like she was about to announce I'd won a raffle. Her voice came out too soft, too rehearsed. "Malcolm," she began, "we've completed the compensation realignment review." That phrase hit me like a brick. I'd seen it whispered across the company's Slack threads like a ghost that nobody wanted to confront. But I didn't expect the bomb she dropped next. "Your new compensation package will be $62,000 annually." I stared at her. Then I looked at Arthur Winslow, my so-called new division head from Harrington Global's acquisition. The man couldn't tell the difference between a router and a coffee mug. He didn't even bother to meet my eyes, just scribbled lazily in his notebook as if this was just another Tuesday. I did the math in my head. From 147 down to 62. A 58% pay cut. No explanation. No justification. Just like that. I could feel heat creeping up the back of my neck, but I refused to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. I nodded once, controlled, and said, "They'll think it over." Like they were offering me ham or turkey at a deli counter, not ripping the floor out from under my entire life. Denise smiled, as if I had just agreed to dessert. She slid the folder across the table. "It's effective immediately." Effective immediately. Same hours. Same responsibilities. Same deadlines. Less than half the money. I didn't curse. I didn't throw a chair, even though I wanted to. I just stood, gathered the folder, and walked out of that sterile room like I wasn't already spiraling inside. The moment those glass doors shut behind me, my hands started trembling. I made my way to my truck on autopilot, climbed in, and sat there. No music, no calls, no distractions. Just silence. The steering wheel felt like ice beneath my fingers. My mouth was dry as sandpaper. Mortgage. Groceries. Child support. Soccer cleats. Field trip forms. Christmas. What the hell was I supposed to tell my kids, Julian and Ezra? I stayed there for nearly an hour, staring at the dashboard like it might spell out an answer. Eventually, I turned the key, drove home, and parked in the driveway without stepping out. Just sat there with the engine off, watching the porch light flicker as if it was going to give out too. That job, the one thing I thought I could always count on, had just been gutted. I joined Graymont Solutions back in 2014. Back then, we were just 10 people crammed into a tiny shared office space in Knoxville, Tennessee. The carpet was threadbare, the coffee was terrible, and half the year we worked with no proper air conditioning. But we were hungry, driven. Everyone carried weight. Titles didn't mean much, results did. Either you got things done, or you didn't. I thrived in that chaos. In my first year, I worked through every holiday. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, I was in the office, glued to the servers. During one brutal 3-day outage, I slept under my desk with a blanket from home. I missed Julian's first school play because a deployment window shifted at the last minute. I told myself it was temporary. I told my wife the same. But it wasn't. By 2019, I was managing 8 major enterprise accounts. Over 60% of Graymont's service revenue came directly through my pipeline. I was the guy they called when a server went down, when a scope ballooned overnight, or when a client threatened to walk. I made things work. Always did. Then came the divorce. She left me for some guy named Anton, a Pilates instructor who loved to post shirtless selfies from Boulder, Colorado. She said she needed room to breathe. She moved there, leaving me with the house, the boys, the bills, and no clear plan for how I was supposed to juggle it all. That job, it became my anchor. The one thing I could hold on to when everything else was slipping away. In 2021, Cavendish Group swooped in and bought Greymont Solutions. They announced it with a big company-wide Zoom call. "This is about scale and opportunity," their CEO beamed, grinning like he'd just cured cancer. What he didn't mention was that 6 months later, he'd walk away with $4.5 million and a consulting gig in Switzerland. We got a new logo. That was the grand benefit. Then came the management bloat. Layers of red tape suffocated everything. More meetings, endless slide decks, less actual problem solving. They demanded weekly PowerPoints instead of working solutions. The layoffs started quietly. First the admins. Then operations staff. Then middle management. No explanations, no town halls, just cold calendar invites labeled status update. My team dropped from 6 to 2. The workload didn't. I was fielding client calls at 10 at night, apologizing for bugs I hadn't even been briefed on. I was patching back-end fixes myself at 2 in the morning because we didn't have enough developer support. The stress wasn't just bad. It was overload. I snapped at Julian for leaving the cereal box open. I dozed off at red lights. My hand sometimes shook when I typed. But loyalty, that was the cruelest illusion. It only ever benefited the people at the top cashing in. And when the cuts came, they didn't hit Arthur Winslow or his circle of yes-men from Cavendish. They came for us, the ones grinding, the ones who had built Greymont from the ground up. And I still didn't see it coming. Not until Denise Calder handed me that joke of an offer. That's when I realized they were done pretending I mattered. I walked out of that building, folder in hand, heart pounding. By the time I got home, my chest was tight and my mind was spiraling. I poured myself a drink in the kitchen but didn't even touch it. Just stood there, staring at my reflection in the microwave door, trying to swallow the panic. That's when my phone buzzed. Colin Draper. I hadn't heard from him in 6 months, not since he bailed on Greymont Solutions after the Cavendish buyout. Smart guy. Got out early. "Malcolm," he said as soon as I picked up, "have you checked LinkedIn lately?" I laughed bitterly. "Man, I've been too busy trying not to drown." "Well, you should. I'm with Novosphere Technologies now. And our execs? They keep asking about you. They know what you built. They want to talk." That hit me hard. Novosphere was the only real threat to Cavendish. Bigger budget, leaner leadership, less corporate fluff, more execution. "They know I'm still at Greymont," I said. "They know you're the reason Greymont hasn't bled more clients since the acquisition. And trust me, they're watching." He wasn't blowing smoke. We both knew it. "I'll call you back," I said, and hung up. I went into my office at home, pulled out my original Greymont contract, and read every line twice. No non-compete. No NDA that blocked future employment. Back then, Greymont had been about trust. That was their mistake. I didn't need to download files. Everything was already in my head, years of notes, client quirks, renewal timelines, all the invisible details no spreadsheet could ever capture. That wasn't stolen data. That was earned trust. So I called Colin back. Set the meeting. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Denny's on 5th. Not a boardroom. Not some sleek office tower. A diner. That's how you know it's serious. That night, I peeked into my boy's room. Julian half off the bed, Ezra curled up like a burrito in his blanket. I stood there for a long minute, letting it sink in. This wasn't about ego. It was about them. I had two choices: keep getting kicked in the teeth, or remind them who the hell I was. The next morning, I pulled into the Denny's parking lot 10 minutes early. I didn't bother dressing up. Jeans, boots, black polo. If this was going to be a real conversation, I wasn't showing up like I had anything to prove. Inside, Stephen Rockwell was already seated at a booth by the window. No suit, no tie, just rolled up sleeves and a black watch that probably cost more than my mortgage. He looked up, gave me a single nod, and slid a coffee across the table before I even sat down. You still take it black, right? Yeah, I said. Thanks. No small talk. No fake smiles. Just two men staring across laminate, too much history weighing in the silence. I got straight to it. Fairmont Capital bought us, gutted the company, slapped layers of useless management on top, and called it progress. I took the hits. I kept the biggest clients happy. And this, I tapped the folder I carried, this is how they repay me. Stephen didn't flinch. Had heard worse. He just nodded. And the message? That I'm disposable. That they think I'll take scraps because I've got kids to feed. He leaned back, arms crossed. We've tried to bring you in twice before. Both times you said no. I was loyal. His eyes sharpened. And where did that get you? I didn't answer. He reached into his bag, pulled out a folder, and slid it across the table. No build-up, no pitch. Just the numbers. I opened it. Base salary, $178,000. Bonus structure. Full health coverage, medical, dental, vision. Stock options. Real money. Real future. Immediate start. My hand stayed on the folder, but I didn't close it. Why this much? Stephen leaned in, voice lower now. Because you've retained 94% of your client portfolio over the last 5 years. That doesn't happen. Not in this industry. Not with the chaos you've been handed. I stayed silent, letting it sink in. You're the only reason Graymont hasn't lost 5 of its biggest accounts already, he continued. Every time we push, the clients say the same thing, we trust Malcolm. Then he hit me with the kicker. Word is, Fairmont is moving your entire division offshore within the year. Forcing attrition so they don't have to pay severance. That pay cut? Step 1. I felt my throat tighten. You're certain? 2 separate sources. And we've already seen the vendor bids floating around. That explained everything. I closed the folder, still holding it. You'll have my answer by 3 p.m. Stephen nodded once, didn't press. Just sipped his coffee like we were talking about baseball. But I already knew. This wasn't just a job offer. It was a lifeline. At exactly noon, I walked back through the front doors of Graymont Solutions like I owned the place. My badge still worked, guess nobody had flagged me yet. The receptionist gave me a tight smile, probably already knowing something was brewing. I didn't stop to chat. I took the elevator up to the 4th floor, marched down the hallway, and pushed into conference room B like I wasn't about to blow the whole thing wide open. Arthur Winslow sat at the head of the table, hair perfect, watch gleaming, like he had someplace better to be. He glanced up from his tablet with that smug little nod, as if we were old golf buddies. Denise Calder sat beside him, papers folded neatly in her lap, eyes glued to the floor. Malcolm, Arthur said, setting the tablet down. We need your answer. I pulled out a chair, sat across from them, calm and steady. Got a couple questions first. Arthur leaned back, already annoyed. This isn't a negotiation. Wasn't planning on one, I replied. Who's taking point on the Grayson rollout next month? He blinked. That's not your concern anymore. It is. Clients were told I'd manage it personally. They'll adapt. I smiled thinly. Are you outsourcing the division in 8 months? Denise shifted in her seat. Arthur stayed silent. I asked again, sharper this time. You're moving my department overseas, right? Finally he snapped. I don't know what you think you know, Malcolm. Doesn't matter, I said, rising slowly with the folder in my hand. I'm not accepting the pay cut. I'm resigning. Effective immediately. Arthur let out a short, sharp laugh. You can't just walk out. Sure, I can. Section 7B of my original contract. No notice required in the event of a major compensation change like, say, a 58% cut served with a weak cup of coffee. Denise's head dropped to her papers, flipping nervously. Her hand shook as she pretended to search for something. Arthur's jaw tightened. You'll be hearing from our lawyers. For what? Breathing too confidently. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. I haven't taken a single thing that isn't mine. Didn't copy a file. Didn't forward a single document. All I'm walking out with is my reputation. The trust one built with those clients. That belongs to me, and I'm taking it with me. He tried to cut in, but I was already done. I turned to Denise. You've got a resignation form in that folder? She nodded faintly. Slid it across the table. I signed it, capped the pen, stood up, and buttoned my jacket. Arthur muttered, You think this is some kind of power move? No, I said, walking toward the door. That comes next. And I walked out. Didn't look back. I didn't even make it to lunch the next day before the voicemails started piling up. 11 missed calls, all from Graymont Solutions. The first was a regional VP, voice sharp with urgency, would like to clarify the nature of your departure. The second was from someone in legal, carefully worded but dripping with tension. The third came from Arthur Winslow himself. He didn't leave a message, just hung up after 2 rings. Coward. By mid-afternoon, my personal cell was lighting up with names I knew like family: Grayson Global, Kentrotech, Lumacor. All of them confused. All of them annoyed. Malcolm, we were told you'd still be leading the transition. What happened? Why are we hearing this from a junior rep and not you? I let them talk. I let them vent. Then I told them the truth. Short. Clean. Professional. Graymont made decisions I couldn't stand behind. I left. That's all I can say for now. You could hear it in their voices, that pause where anger turns into understanding. Then the text started coming in from my old team. What was left of it, anyway? Screenshots of Arthur scrambling. Assigning accounts to staff who barely knew the product. Telling clients someone would circle back by end of week when they needed answers yesterday. One of the guys, Jesse, texted, Arthur tried to put Madison on Lumacor. She thought it was a hardware account. I typed back, check your inbox in an hour. By then, Novasphere Technologies already had it lined up. Offers went out that afternoon to Jesse and another top engineer, Devin. Both had kids. Both had bills. Both had been hanging on by a thread just like I had. They accepted before sunset. That night, an email landed in my inbox. From Denise Calder. Subject line, Professional Courtesy Violation. Real bold, considering she couldn't even meet my eyes the day before. She wrote, It has come to our attention that your exit may not have followed best practice professional norms. We expect better from someone in your former position. I didn't even flinch. Just hit reply. Attached a screenshot of Section 7B from my contract. No notice required in the event of major compensation reduction. CCD HR Legal. Then I hit send. Silence ever since. They wanted me to leave quiet. They expected me to bow out, head down, grateful for whatever scraps they threw my way. Instead, I walked out and lit a match. Now they were watching the whole damn thing burn. By day 3 at Novasphere Technologies, I could finally breathe like a human again. Key card. Laptop. Slack login. Real setup, not some folding chair in a corner next to a dusty printer, like my last 6 months at Graymont Solutions. I was just starting to settle in when my phone rang. Unknown number. For a second I almost let it go to voicemail. Something in my gut told me to answer. Malcolm Reyes. Malcolm, this is Reginald Morton. Just like that. No assistant, no buffer. The CEO of Cavendish Group, a man I'd only ever seen in glossy investor videos and photo ops with mayors calling me directly. He didn't waste time. I've been made aware of the client movement following your departure. There's concern around fallout. And rumors of active poaching. I kept my voice calm. I told them I was leaving. They followed me. That's not illegal. That's loyalty. He hesitated. Arthur says. I cut him off. Let me stop you there. Arthur Winslow sat me in a windowless room, offered me a 58% pay cut, no severance, no warning. And he conveniently forgot to mention your plan to offshore my department after Q2. You think that's leadership? Silence. The kind that tells you the other side knows you're right. Finally he said, what would it take to bring you back? I laughed, couldn't help it. You think this is about money? Everything's about money, Malcolm. Not to me, it's not. This is about respect. Something I gave for 10 years and never got back. He shifted gears fast. Would be willing to match Novasphere's offer. No, beat it. Still no. Then what do you want? I leaned back in my new chair, feet up on the desk, staring out at a skyline that wasn't mine yet but would be. Hey, race, what I want. Fire Arthur. Stop treating the people still there like dirt. And stop threatening to sue the guy who just walked away quietly. You're not walking away quietly. No, I said flatly. You made sure of that. Another pause. Then his voice dropped. This call didn't happen. Fine by me. He hung up. I set the phone down, cracked my knuckles, and opened my inbox. Time to get back to work. 6 months later, I had a corner office at Novasphere Technologies. A real title, Director of Client Integration. 18 people reporting to me. I still showed up early. Still stayed late when it mattered. But now, the grind paid off. My boys Julian and Ezra were sleeping easier. So was I. In the first 4 months alone, 5 of my old clients walked away from Graymont. I didn't pitch them. Didn't send a single sales email. They reached out to me. Malcolm, are you still managing accounts? We're not getting answers over there. Can we move everything to your team? Graymont scrambled. They slashed rates, offered ridiculous discounts. It didn't matter. Turns out relationships beat discounts every time. Denise Calder, the HR rep who wouldn't meet my eyes in that conference room, got reassigned to some vague division called Internal Development. Arthur Winslow resigned, though everyone knew he was pushed out after botching 3 client handoffs and humiliating himself in a software demo he didn't understand. And Cavendish Group? They shelved the outsourcing plan quietly. No press release, no memo. I heard from 2 managers that the vendor contracts just stopped. At a trade show in Portland, I even ran into Vernon Pierce, my very first boss back in Graymont's scrappy days. He spotted me across the hall, cut through the crowd, and pulled me into a hug like family. They did you dirty, Malcolm, he said. Glad you landed on your feet. I smiled. I didn't land. I jumped. Real talk? The money's great. So is the freedom. I work remote 3 days a week. I pick my own clients. Skip the useless meetings. I don't miss the grind, just the part of me that thought grinding was the only way to matter. But the real win? Saying no. No to being devalued. No to swallowing it with a smile. No to giving another year to people who thought I'd never walk. Now I make it to soccer games. I help with homework. I eat dinner with my kids at an actual table, not in the driver's seat. I sleep more than 4 hours a night. I still work hard. That'll never change. But now I do it for people who see what I bring to the table. People who respect it. I used to think loyalty was everything. Turns out, self-respect matters more. And if you're sitting in a job that's slowly gutting you, thinking you've got no options here. This. You do. And sometimes, all it takes is one phone call. To burn the whole damn cage down. Thank you for staying with me through my story. If these words touched you, if they stirred something in you or made you reflect on your own journey, I ask only 3 small things. Like the video so others can find it. Leave a comment, share your story, or simply tell me what struck you the hardest. Subscribe because more stories are coming, and you won't want to miss what's ahead. This isn't where my journey ends. It's where something far greater begins. And I'm grateful you're here to share it with me.